on the morning of February the 1st, 2006, I went into a coma. And my husband called my doctor, who told him to rush me to the hospital in the coma. So I was rushed to the hospital. And when the doctors looked at me, they said these were my final hours. And that's what they told my husband, Danny, and my family, that I was not going to come out of this coma. And my body started to swell up. So they said her organs are shutting down one by one, and her kidneys have already shut down. So my kidneys had already shut down, and they said there's no reversing this now. That I was going through the dying process, and it was basically over. But in that time, like, my family were distraught, and the doctors were like, they didn't know what to do with me. One of them said, there's nothing we can do. We're just going to sit here and watch her die. But unbeknownst to my family, who were completely distraught, I had actually left my body.
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Schulweiss.
And I'm Jen Giammo.
And welcome to another episode of Everybody Talks, the podcast where we explore the wide world of wellness. Sometimes we talk to experts, sometimes we just talk to each other, but we're always talking to you. And if you want to watch this episode, which I advise that you do, go to our YouTube channel right now at Everybody Talks Podcast.
Every week, we discuss topics from nutrition and exercise to mindfulness and self-care. And today we are talking to a New York Times bestselling author, speaker, and thought leader whose extraordinary near-death experience transformed her understanding of life, healing, and human potential, and has since inspired millions around the world. Born in Singapore to Indian parents and raised in Hong Kong, she grew up navigating multiple cultures, speaking English, Cantonese, and Sindhi. Before her life-changing experience, she lived what many would consider a successful life, yet found herself struggling with questions of identity, belonging, and self-worth, challenges that would later become central to her healing message.
Today you will hear about her cancer diagnosis and prognosis and her astonishing healing journey that became the foundation of her internationally acclaimed book, Dying to Be Me. Her story caught the attention of Dr. Wayne Dyer, who championed her work and helped bring her message to a broader audience. Today, she travels the world as a sought-after speaker, sharing her insights on the mind-body connection and living without fear. Her work has been featured on major media outlets, and she has become a prominent voice in the fields of consciousness, healing, and personal transformation. We are more than honored to welcome her here on Everybody Talks. Please welcome Anita Moorjani. Anita, welcome. Welcome to Everybody Talks. We're so happy to have you here.
Wow, thank you so much, Jen and Lori, for that beautiful intro. Really appreciate it, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Well, we are excited.
We're very excited.
I feel like I know you because I actually listened to your book, and so hearing your voice now and seeing you, I'm like, oh yeah, I know her. We're friends.
So, I mean, I think we just want to hit the ground running to tell us about your story. Take us through, I mean, something I know you've talked ad nauseum about, but for our listeners who don't know about your diagnosis, the treatments, how you came to still be alive right now.
So back in 2002, I was diagnosed with cancer, with lymphoma, which I dealt with for about 4 years. It would progress, and then I would try different kinds of treatments, and then it would get better, it would go into remission, and then it would come back and progress again until in 2006, early 2006, I reached what doctors called end stage. So it had progressed. So this is lymphoma, which is cancer of the lymph nodes, cancer of the lymphatic system. And so the lymphoma had spread throughout my lymphatic system. So I had tumors the size of golf balls from the base of my skull, all around my neck, under my arms, in my chest, all the way down to my abdomen. And by this point, my body was so sick that it had stopped absorbing nutrition. So my muscles had completely atrophied, and I was like a skeleton with skin. I was so skinny, I weighed about 85 pounds. And because my muscles had atrophied, I had no strength in my legs or arms or neck. So I couldn't even walk. I was either on a chair or in a bed or in a wheelchair. But again, because my muscles were so atrophied, even when I was sitting, I couldn't hold my head up. My head would be hanging down on my neck. My neck didn't even have the strength to keep my head straight. And these golf ball sized tumors were actually protruding from the side of my neck and under my arm and all the way through my body. Um, my lungs were constantly filled with fluid, which had to be drained. And I had open skin lesions. I was in a really bad shape. I was in so much pain and discomfort and fear. And because my lungs were filled with fluid, I couldn't even lie flat. So I could never sleep properly. I had to be propped up because if I lay flat, the fluid would just come into my throat and choke, and I would feel this choking sensation. I was being cared for at home by my family, my husband, my mom, and a full-time nurse. But on the morning of February the 1st, 2006, I went into a coma. And my husband called my doctor, who told him to rush me to the hospital in the coma. So I was rushed to the hospital. And when the doctors looked at me, they said these were my final hours. And that's what they told my husband, Danny, and my family, that I was not going to come out of this coma. And my body started to swell up. So they said her organs are shutting down one by one, and her kidneys have already shut down. So my kidneys had already shut down, and they said there's no reversing this now. That I was going through the dying process, and it was basically over. Um, but in that time, like, my family were distraught, and the doctors were like, they didn't know what to do with me. One of them said, there's nothing we can do. We're just going to sit here and watch her die. But my unbeknownst to my family, who were completely distraught, I had actually left my body, and I noticed it was like, to everyone else, my physical body was lying there on the hospital bed in a coma, but I felt free. I didn't even understand fully what was happening because it was so natural, organic, and gentle. But I suddenly found that, oh, I feel amazing. I feel light. I feel free. I'm not feeling that labored breathing anymore. I didn't realize it's because I don't have a physical body. I don't even need to breathe anymore. But it was just the most incredible feeling. And then I started to become aware of everything around me, like my physical body and the people and my family. And I could see everything that was happening, but it wasn't like viewing with physical eyes because I didn't have physical eyes. I didn't have a physical body. It was like I was aware. It was like 360-degree peripheral awareness. Like I could see all around me. When you look with your eyes, you have to be facing in a direction. You have to focus somewhere. This was not like I had to focus. It was like, oh, all this stuff I was able to absorb all at the same time. And it felt almost normal, and it just felt incredible. But I could see that my family were distraught. The doctors felt really helpless. And I wanted them to know that, don't worry, I'm fine. I'm feeling better than I've ever felt before. But there was no way for me to communicate that with them because I had no vocal cords. I had no physical body. And so I started to realize, oh, maybe this is the dying process. I was aware of conversations that the doctors were having with my family, not just in the room where my body was, but beyond, outside, down the hallway. I was aware that my brother, who was in another country, was trying to get on a flight to get to me before I died because my family had contacted him and said that I was in my final stages. So he was rushing. He just rushed straight to the airport to get on a flight to come and see me. And I was aware of all of this because it was like my consciousness had just expanded and expanded to take in everything that was related to this life or related to my soul and what I was going through. Um, as I felt myself continue to expand, I started to become more detached to the scene that was happening here in the physical and in the hospital. Um, and I started to become more aware of things that what I call the other realm, but I don't even feel there's a veil between that realm and this one. But I became aware of other beings, other light beings, spirit beings, deceased loved ones, some of whom I recognized, but just other beings, some of whom I didn't recognize. But all I felt from all of them was pure, unconditional love, just love, like they were there to help me and to see me through this process. And so, and the love I experienced was nothing like I've ever experienced in physical life before, because it felt like for the first time I could actually relax and I was loved even if I did nothing. And I'd never felt that way in physical life. I always felt that I had to work hard to seek approval. I'd always been a people pleaser. I've always been someone who was afraid of disappointing people. And I've always been someone who believed that I had to be worthy and deserving of love. But here I was now without my physical body, and I felt loved just because I existed. It was the most incredible feeling. And one of the first beings that I recognized on the other side was my dad, who had died 10 years prior. And you see, when I was growing up, I had a very turbulent relationship with my dad, and I'd always felt I'd let him down and I had disappointed him. And I always felt that one day when I see him on the other side, he's going to judge me very badly. But now here I was on the other side. And all I felt from him was pure, unconditional love. And I started to understand that I am loved. And I started to understand that I'd always thought there was something wrong with me because I was unable to please my dad or win his approval. And instead of being judged for being what I thought was a bad daughter, disobedient daughter, rebellious daughter, and all the things, the stories in my head, I realized, no, it wasn't me. It was my dad who could not be pleased, who was the one who was demanding and hard and not a great dad. So I felt so much love from him, like he wanted me to know. It almost felt like he wanted me to forgive him when I thought I would be judged by him. So it was the most incredible feeling. And he wanted me to know that he loved me unconditionally, but just never knew how to show it. A lot of it because of the culture we come from, because the culture I come from is very patriarchal. And he was somebody who, I mean, in my culture at that time when I was growing up, boys or sons were favored more than daughters. So I always felt like I was a disappointment. And no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. So for me, it was so unique to feel that I didn't have to do anything. I'm just loved. So much happened in that realm, but I'm going to let it all unfold during our conversation. I was in a coma for about 30 hours, and time is not linear. So I absorbed an incredible amount of information. And it also felt like a door had opened. So things continued to unfold even after I came back. But I reached a point where I was given a choice as to whether I wanted to come back into my physical body or not. And I didn't, no part of me wanted to come back because I was suffering from the illness. My family was suffering, taking care of me. There was no reason to come back. But that was when I started to feel like I was in this state of clarity where I started to understand why I had got sick. And I understood that now that I knew, now that I understood, and now that I knew who I really was without my physical body, that if I chose to come back, my body would heal. You see, I realized that I was far more powerful than I had ever believed. We all are. But I was always conditioned to play small, be small, and felt inferior just because I was born a girl, just because I'm a woman. So I'd always made myself small and tried to win people's approval. And I was always rewarded for being submissive. But when I realized the true power that we hold, that's when I understood that knowing what I now know, if I chose to come back into my body would heal. And that was when my dad said to me, your work isn't done. It's not your time. Go back and live your life fearlessly. So I'd lived a life filled with fear of not being enough, fear of disapproval, fear of letting people down. And it was my dad who instilled that fear in me during my life. But it was my dad who released me from that fear in death. And so I made the decision to come back into my body after being in the coma for a little over 30 hours. And that's when my physical eyes of my physical body started to open up, and I started to come out of the coma, and everybody around me was super shocked. I started to tell them the conversations that they were having and what the doctors were doing. And they were like, but you couldn't have seen this. You couldn't have heard it. You were in a coma. It was clinically confirmed you were in a coma, and your eyes were closed. There's no way you could have seen and heard all these things. But I recounted everything that happened while I was in the coma. And they couldn't believe it. But within 4 days, all those golf ball sized tumors had shrunk by about 60 to 70%. Just physically, they could just see it. They were softening and melting. They didn't even have to do scans to see that. But 3 weeks later, they took scans and x-rays and biopsies, and they were having trouble finding any trace of the cancer. 5 weeks after the NDE, there was no evidence of cancer whatsoever, and they released me from the hospital to go home and live my life cancer-free.
It's incredible, right?
It's incredible. It's such a mind-blowing thing, and the power, it's like you're a little speechless listening to that story.
Yeah.
I have to say.
I do want to just go back for a second, Anita. So you obviously were in a lot of pain going into this. You had cancer for a long time. When you got to that point, when your husband brought you to the hospital, you were in a coma already. Was there any, I guess between the time that you were conscious and unconscious, was there fear? Were you afraid of what was happening to you?
Yes, very. I was afraid. I was in so much fear. I was afraid of death.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid of I was afraid of the treatments as well, because I hated all the treatments. I hated hospitals. I hated the treatment. I didn't want to die. But what happened is that I had been fighting and fighting and fighting for so long for my life to stay alive. I was so tired, but my life just kept deteriorating. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then I felt this is not worth fighting for anymore. And it was in that time where I just surrendered. It was like, okay, nothing is worse than this. And I let go. And that's when I went into the coma.
Wow.
And then the fear and the pain was gone.
Yeah. So in those 30 hours in the coma, and I know you said like time is not linear and you're experiencing all these things at the same time, like past, present, and future at the same time, which is mind-blowing
It is
to me.
mind-blowing.
It's very difficult to wrap
it's difficult when you say that you don't have eyes, but yet you're like seeing your dad. Or that it's like you don't have this physical body, but somehow that's being communicated to you and they're like coming to you.
Well, it almost makes more sense to me that going to the other side that you could see those things. What's more fascinating is the fact that you were experiencing these things that were happening in the room where you were,
Right.
and you weren't weren't there,
weren't there.
for all intents and
Yeah.
purposes, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes, and even things that were outside the room. I do remember consciously thinking, I need to stay alive until my brother arrives. And also, I said to my husband later after coming out of the coma, I said, "Oh, isn't that the doctor that said to you that I won't even make it through the night? These are my final hours." And my husband said, "How could you have even heard or seen it or even identified the doctor? We had that conversation outside the room in the nurse's station, 30 feet down the hallway with
Wow.
the door closed."
I'm also amazed that you're able to remember everything
so clearly.
Yes, with all that clarity, because like, I mean, the only thing that you have to compare it to is like a dream, that is like you're out of your body, you are experiencing things in a dream, and then
Yes.
you wake up, and many times you don't remember what the dream was, but although you may remember how you felt. And so the fact that you are remembering these things with such clarity um is really extraordinary as well.
Thank you. Yes, it actually felt like that was the waking state. So when I was in that state, it felt like this was the dream. It felt, you know how when I mean, you probably don't know it. I hope
We
you
don't know.
never
We
know this.
don't. We
But
don't.
when you hear about people who are that sick as I was, every day you wish this was a dream that you would wake up
Oh,
from.
yeah.
And then one day I did feel as though I woke up from the dream. That was the awake state. It was like, it was a dream. This
Oh,
life was a dream. Now I'm
wow.
awake. Now I feel alive. Now I feel powerful. This is amazing. I feel free. I feel light. I don't feel burdened or encumbered by all these negative emotions and all this fear and this pain and this need. It felt so good to lose that need to constantly worry about what people were thinking. I was on so high alert, and I didn't realize I was living in that state. And this is what's really interesting. So, you know how sometimes when you're sitting in a room that you think is really quiet, and then suddenly the air conditioning goes off and it goes even quieter, and you never even notice the air conditioning hum.
Yeah.
But you notice when it's quieter and you're like, oh, there was this background hum that I didn't notice. So that was kind of what it felt like, that I was living with something, a background, like a constant stress of being on high alert. But to me, that was my normal state of being. And I didn't know it was my normal state of being until it was gone.
Wow.
And the clarity and the understanding was like, because I grew up in an environment where I was met with disapproval just for being a girl. Um, I spent my life from the time I was born, I guess, trying to please people or trying to win people over and trying to win approval. So my life was just lived on high alert all the time. Like, is this person displeased with me? Oh, how do I make it up to them? How do I do that? It's like you don't even know you're doing it, but it's like you're in this survival mode, like your survival depends on it. And when you're a child, it kind of does. But then it becomes the normal way of being where you're just expending this high energy all the time inside. You may look a picture of calm, but all the time you become highly astute as to who's not pleased with you and how can you fix it with them. And so I was this people pleaser on steroids kind of thing. So even when I was really, really sick with cancer and people would want to help me, I would say, no, it's okay. Don't go out of your way. It's okay. I didn't want to trouble people, even when I was really sick. That's how much it was. And yet, I would be the first one there to help other people. I was always the shoulder that people cried on. And so I could see when I was on the other side what I had done to myself to lead up to that point
Wow.
of being so depleted, so exhausted that my body started to break down, and of being so repressed. And all my own needs, my desires, my dreams, everything my soul came here to be and express, all of it had been so repressed that that my body just expressed itself as cancer,
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
in sheer
Yeah.
anger and rage of not allowing the real me to express myself.
Oh my God.
Well, that's such an example of, what science says about stress and illness and the correlation. And
Yes.
for you
Yes.
to have recognized that only in this NDE, that you knew, you sort of were figuring out, oh,
Yeah.
that's why I got cancer.
Right.
And I believe that everyone should know this, because one of the first things I thought when I came back is, why didn't I know this before? Why don't we all know this? If I knew this, I would never have gotten sick. I
Yeah.
would have worked towards getting healing for this issue of being such a people pleaser and for all those things. But I didn't know it. You don't even know that you are that way. It's like that air conditioning hum, which you're on this high alert and you don't even know it. And so that's why I thought everybody needs to know it. And I'm going to make it my mission to tell everybody, because they need to know this.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, so, oh gosh, that message is so,
I know.
it's like,
It's something that everyone needs to hear and no one listens to, I feel like,
Yes, no one listens.
No
Yeah.
one listens.
But Anita, so okay, so I understand the recognition of, okay, you knew how you were living your life, and that was essentially killing you. But what I want to understand better is this idea of living fearlessly. And you said, you sort of came back because of your father and what your father had said to you. But what do you attribute the shrinking of the cancer and the tumors?
That's my question. And the doctors, like, you're on death's door, literally you're like 1 foot in. And,
Yeah.
what did they have an explanation for you?
So not exactly. So over the time that this was happening, I'd been treated by 4 or 5 different doctors. And even they can't come to a single agreement as to what happened. And so it's, so my own doctor, who was my family doctor, who's known me for a long time, he basically said, there is no explanation. I can only attribute it to divine intervention, is what he said. Another doctor, an oncologist, who when he was with me, couldn't believe it. And he actually said, I don't even know what to write in your medical record. And he made the gesture of throwing my medical record into the trash. He didn't really, but he kind of goes, this belongs in here because it means nothing to me now. I don't even know what to write. And he was incredulous about it. And then I told him about the NDE, like what I experienced, and he completely believed me. And he said, you're not the first person I've heard say something like this has happened to them. But unfortunately, that doctor, what happened is I was interviewed for a newspaper, and the newspaper, then the journalist, she said to me, would your doctors be willing to verify this? And I said, yes. So she actually spoke to 3 of my doctors, and 2 of them said, there's no explanation. It really is a miracle. But that one, who was so mind blown when it happened, when it came to the journalist interviewing him, he actually threw me under the bus and reeled it. Yeah, he did. He said, "Oh, it must be the meds," and then they were saying, "But the meds don't work that quickly." He said, "No, but people do experience spontaneous
Wow.
remissions," and so he completely reeled
Ay,
it
ay,
back.
ay.
So the interesting thing is the other 2 doctors who completely verified me said, this happens because in medicine, that doctor who threw me under the bus was extremely senior in his institution. And he didn't want to be seen endorsing something that
Can't be
is,
explained.
that he could be labeled a quack for, and the other 2 didn't mind at all. But so this is mixed, and so sometimes, so what I have done actually, so one of the doctors wrote a testimonial, one of the ones who verified that no, this couldn't happen. He wrote a testimonial for me based on my medical records, which I put in my book, Dying to Be Me. He actually said to me, you should write a book, and here is my testimonial with the medical explanation of why this is impossible and could not have happened to you.
Wow.
It should not have happened. So that's in the book. The other doctor, who was my family doctor for many years, who was there throughout the whole thing, he's actually done a couple of YouTube videos with me to give credibility to what I'm saying. So, but every now and then somebody will pick up what that third one said and quote that and say, here, this person.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, he knows what happened,
Yeah.
but this is just him not wanting to say it publicly.
And it should be pointed out, you've been cancer-free ever since. Is that so?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess people don't want to, if they can't explain it from
They
a
don't wanna
scientific perspective and they haven't been through it, like as you're talking, and I'm thinking about, I'm just thinking about people that I know who have actually passed away, and you wonder, did they experience what you experienced? You happen to come back into this world, but it's such a good feeling to know that could be something that other people
reassuring.
are experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, so many people are I myself was at my father's bedside when he passed, and with our whole family. And it is reassuring to me to think that he knew we were all there. He could see that we were all there. He could hear our words to him and our thoughts. And there is something very comforting about knowing that for sure.
That's what I want everybody to know. Yes.
Do you think that is true across the board? Do you think that there's something different about you or unique in you or other people that experience this that not everyone gets to have? Or do you think it's a universal experience?
So it's a little combination. So first of all, I don't think I'm special or more special than anyone else. At the same time, I do think everybody has their own life trajectory. Their soul has its own trajectory. And what I believe, though, is that everybody's soul, everybody is incredibly powerful. But here in this physical world, the way our conditioning is, our education system, and I'm even going to say even our religions, actually tend to make us smaller than who we really are. The conditioning we get, even our politicians, our government, and our medical system, all of these things have us live a life of fear, which shrinks us down and puts us into this stress response state. So I think every single one of us are more powerful than we have ever been led to believe. And if we knew our true power and who we really are and what we have available to us, we would not need to fight each other, compete with each other, kill each other, worry about people who are different from us. No, we would just be busy accessing our own power, our own connection, creating our own lives, by following our soul's intention. But we've been taught that we're all separate and you've got to get ahead of everyone else. And and you've been taught that people who are not like you are not to be trusted. And you've been taught to fear illness and fear death and fear God and fear this and fear that. So we live in this pressure cooker bubble, which is very unhealthy and makes us violent and competitive, and it makes us mistrust people. And it's unfortunate that this is what is being passed on and how we're being conditioned. But I think that I do believe that if people can access who they really are, this can be for everybody. I actually do believe that.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah, I mean that. So
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions, but one is like, how would we, for instance, and we hear what you're saying, and I believe every word
I
that
do
you're
too.
saying, and your story
I do
is
too.
so incredible that
Very
there's
compelling.
nothing that I question about it at all. But how do we access those beliefs? How do we embody those beliefs having not had that experience?
Especially, how do we get rid of the fear that
fear
we
part.
walk around with always?
So even for me, it comes and goes, but I know the importance of not having it. I mean, I know what it feels like to not having it, and I know the importance of living in a state that is parasympathetic as opposed to in this survival state that everybody is conditioned to live in. So because I know the importance, I live my life so as to for that state to be the default state. So it's a process, because here's where the issue is. Our environment does not support us to live in a parasympathetic state. So when I tell people things, which I'm going to tell you how to do it, what's going to happen is people will say, but I can't do that. I can't afford to do that. I got to pay the rent. I got to go to work. I got to work in a job I hate. It's those things. So let me start first by saying the kinds of things that we need to be doing. And then let me address the second part, which is, okay, how do I do that in this world we live in? So the first part is, first of all, you have to come from a place of love as opposed to fear. So whatever you do, like if you're in a job, ask yourself, am I in this job because I have to pay the rent and I'm scared to leave it, but I actually hate the job? My boss is a bully. But I'm too scared to leave it because otherwise I won't be able to put food on the table. That is the wrong reason to be in that job. The question you need to ask yourself is exactly that. Am I in this job out of fear or love? And if you're in doing what you're doing because you love it, it means it's feeding your soul. You're passionate about it. This is your calling. Those are the things you need to be feeling for whatever it is, whatever work you're doing every day. And that's how I feel today about my work, but I didn't before the near-death experience. The other thing, another example is a lot of women, particularly, are like, my body clock's ticking. I got to find a husband. I got to get married. Got to have a kid before my body isn't able to conceive and get pregnant. And so they want to do all that because it's expected of them from society, because they fear getting older. Or are you looking for a partner because you want to love someone? You have so much love in you. You want to share your life with someone, and you're getting married, or even not getting married, but being with a partner because you just want to. You just love somebody very much, and you want to spend the rest of your lives with them, your life with them. So it's about making choices from a place of love. Another thing that's very common is that. Do I eat healthy because I fear illness, or do I eat healthy because I love my body, I love my life, and I want to live long and be healthy so that I can do the things I do? So many people eat from a place of fear. I would say the majority do that. It's because they're taking these antioxidants, they're eating these vegetables, they're cutting out these things. It's out of a fear of cholesterol, fear of cancer. And that was me before I got cancer. Everything I ate was from a place of fear. I was eating all the healthy foods, but I got cancer because I was eating so much fear with that food.
Wow.
Yeah. And are you exercising? Also, you like running on the treadmill, doing all the things, cramming it into your day because of a fear of not being fit, a fear of gaining weight, a fear of, again, your health and getting heart disease? Or is it because you love your life? Every choice, you name the choice, every choice can be made from a place of love or from a place of fear.
Wow.
And so I tell people to evaluate where your life is right now and how much of your life is where it is right now built up from love, or how much of it is built from fear. Do you go to the doctor regularly out of fear? Or do you take good care of your health out of love for your body? Are you just addressing illnesses? Or are you actually consciously thinking, I want to feel good, so I'm going to do things that make me feel good and healthy? Literally every choice, like even if people want to enhance their bodies with reconstructive surgery of any kind. I have nothing against people using cosmetics or doing cosmetic surgery. But the question is, are you doing it out of fear because you fear what people criticizing you, getting older? Or are you doing it because I love my body and this will make me feel even better? It'll give me even more confidence. Everything can be reframed to be coming from a place of love. But then I have people telling me all the time, I have this job I hate, but and my boss bullies me, but I can't leave it because it puts food on the table and I have a family to take care of. So I can't do what you're saying. And I've already built my life around fear. I can't let it go. So, and they say that if I leave my job, if I quit my job, it's going to kill me. I usually have to bite my tongue to not say to them, if you keep going the way you're going, that's going to kill you faster. And so what I tell people, though, is you can change gradually. One thing, the first step is awareness that, am I living my life out of fear or love? And then break it down.
Wow.
And then change whatever you can. And slowly, as your energy raises, because maybe you've changed some things, but not everything, it raises your energy, it reduces your stress levels. And as that happens, other circumstances start to change. You start to become more open. You start to attract more opportunities. Then the harder ones may be the last to change, but you'll get to them.
Yeah. You actually took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say, and when you relax into that, you open yourself up to things that you never thought you even would have pursued or would be interested in, or, opportunities that come to you.
Exactly.
Just out of curiosity, Anita, what did you do before this happened?
I used to work in corporate, but I did love what I did for a time, because I had some fun jobs, but then I did reach a point where I was in a job that started out wonderfully with a wonderful boss. The boss left, and the new guy that took his position was awful, and he was a bully. So I worked for a French fashion accessory company.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I loved it because I was able to travel and I got to get beautiful fashion accessories. And what woman doesn't love great purses and shoes and all French products. And I got to travel to Paris twice a year to make the selection. So it was a dream job for about 3 years until our CEO left and the new one took over, and the new one was a complete bully. And so he was very, very hard to work for. And for me, it was replication of my dad, because nothing I did pleased him. I could work 24 hours and he would still not be happy with what I produced.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yes. And that wore me down. That really wore me down.
Yeah.
Something that you said, and I wrote this down, I wanted to quote this after you had your NDE. You said, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that if I had known how to love myself, I probably never would have gotten sick. I discovered that it's everything that is not you, the beliefs that have kept you in bondage, the fear, conscious or not, that dictated your choices, especially the fear of death, that keeps you from living an authentic, soulful life. It's about chipping away at what is not you, about undoing and not doing.
Yes.
And I love that because it's so much, just going back to what you were saying before about, do you love your body? Are you eating healthfully? Are you exercising because you love your body, or do you hate it and you're punishing it? And it's, for me as a nutritionist and a personal trainer and looking at people from this health perspective, right? I want people to live longer, healthier. And it's a reframe even for me to say, you should be eating this way because you love your body versus eat this because I don't want you to get sick. I don't want you to have cancer. I don't want you, even I'm just thinking back throughout my dad's illness, and he had cancer as well. And all the things that I was forcing on him and forcing him to do because I thought that was going to change it somehow. But the way that you've kind of reframed it, it just it makes more sense and it feels better. Like it just
Yes.
feels better
Yeah.
in your body, right? Like
Yes.
even the way
Yes.
she's saying that.
Yes. Yes. It's like, yeah.
But it's the unlearning and the undoing of all those things that you thought.
And it's a lot of years of doing that you
Right.
have to
It is.
undo, truly.
And it doesn't happen overnight. Like even after having the near death experience, I still find myself falling back into the old patterns, but then
Yeah.
I jolt myself awake and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yes, because here's the thing. When you do this undoing, when you start to adopt this way of being, of doing things from a place of love, what happens is that it opens something up where you become more intuitive about what your body actually wants, because you're now loving this body. You're loving what you're doing in the world. You're loving this body, and you're treating your body like you are your own child. Imagine you have a beloved pet or a beloved child, and you're like, I would do anything for you. And that's real love. Imagine treating your body that way and then giving it what it really desires. And then your body starts to become more intuitive. So now, when I was sick, I just want to share this with you. During the 4 years that I had cancer, I um, I was eating so healthy. I was doing wheatgrass shots. I was taking in all these supplements, coenzyme Q10, and just all the antioxidants. And I was doing smoothies and green smoothies. Even before I was diagnosed with cancer, I was reading all this stuff about how 1 in 3 people are going to get cancer. So I thought, I'm determined not to get it. I have 2 people close to me who have it, not related, but just people I know. So I'm going to be determined not to get it. And so I started to tell them, you guys need to do this, you need to do that. And I started to be that person because I was learning about all these supplements and things I should be doing. And guess what? I got diagnosed with cancer because I was living, breathing, thinking cancer, anti-cancer, anti-cancer. I would go to all the
Wow.
anti-cancer lectures, doing all the anti-cancer online stuff, but it was all anti-cancer. It was all cancer awareness. The other thing I wanted to say is that literally when I came out of the coma, I wanted to take all the tubes out of me, and the doctors were like, no, you're still critical. And one of the tubes was a nutrition tube. And I said, no, I want to eat real food, because my body had not been absorbing food. It had not been eating. So I had this nutrition tube through my nose and into my gut. So I said, no, I promise you, I will eat. I'm ready to eat. I know I'm going to live. So they took out the nutrition tube, and literally the first thing I wanted to eat was Belgian chocolate ice cream, because I hadn't eaten sugar or sweets or chocolate in years because I was so afraid of sugar. Now, once I started to do things out of love, my body then became more intuitive, and it would tell me, you've had too much sugar, cut back on it. Or these symptoms you're now feeling are caused by the sugar, so cut back on it. Eat more vegetables, eat more stuff with fiber. Your body starts to communicate with you more about what you need. And then the healthiness feels more organic and natural. Like my body craves yogurt when it wants probiotics. Um, so to get your body to be more intuitive, or for you to align more, you have to love it first. Not the fear of cancer or fear of obesity, but it's the love.
Yeah. And not doing it because you think you
Right.
should. Like, that's the thing I should eat because of this.
Right.
So here's the way I approach it. It's not that that stuff is going to kill me, but it's also, I don't fear it. But at the same time, I love my life and my body so much, and I want to keep doing what I do. So I want to feed my body nutrition dense foods. I want to fill my body up with that first. So what is nutrition dense? What is good for me? Let's give my body that, so that it has the ability that if I want that piece of chocolate, my body then has the ability to digest it, and it won't be harmed.
So
true.
after your illness, like you're recovered, what made you like take the step to spread this philosophy? I mean, you've taken the time since then to share, to spread the word, to have people like us talk to you. Is there, were you
Um,
inspired? Like, because a lot of people would just not feel that they would have to. They'd just be, oh my God, I'm lucky enough to be alive.
yes, so it happened to me quite by accident. So one of the things that happened when I was on the other realm, when I learned it wasn't my time, I started to see scenes of my life unfolding. Now, here's the thing. I told you I was a doormat, a people pleaser, and so on. So I was somebody who was very introverted and shy and sensitive and all those things. I would have never, ever imagined myself doing what I'm doing today on stage and on podcasts and writing books. And I would never have imagined it. This is so not who I grew up to be. Um, so the world couldn't have chosen a less qualified person for this to happen to. But while I was there on the other side, I could see scenes of my life unfolding before me. And some of the scenes I saw was that my husband and I, our purposes were linked. And if I didn't come back, he wouldn't be able to complete his purpose either.
Huh.
The other thing I kept seeing was scenes of me on stage talking to people, thousands of people, but I didn't know what I was talking to them about. I thought,
Wow.
what would I be talking to all these people about? But anyway, that was what I saw. And I didn't even know how I was going to get there. I didn't know what I was going to talk to people about. But when I came back and the cancer just healed, and, and people were wondering what was going on and what happened within me, I was also trying to make sense of what happened to me. And Danny, my husband, told me, just write about it, just cathartic, just get it out of your system. So I wrote and wrote and wrote about it. And it was quite long. It would be, if I printed it out, it would be 20 pages in single line spacing. And I even wrote about how I saw myself speaking in front of people, but I don't know what it was about. This was literally within a few months of this happening. I wrote about it very quickly after it happened, while everything was fresh in my mind. And then we discovered a website called NDERF, which stands for Near Death Experience Research Foundation. And they talked about near death experiences. I didn't even know what I had was called an NDE.
Yeah.
So as I saw other people had some somewhat similar experiences, I submitted my story to that site to just say, do you think this is an NDE? And I thought they would reject it right away. But instead, within hours, the owner of the site turned out to be an oncologist. And he wrote to me right away and he said, oh my God, this is fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. Someone being healed from cancer. And he asked me questions about my medical record. He asked me to show him. I showed him certain pages of the medical records. And he said, wow, this is incredible. You shouldn't be alive. And he said, can I have permission to put your story on the home page of my site? I want everybody to read it. That came to me as a shock because I
Wow.
actually thought it would be rejected because I wasn't even sure it was an NDE. I said, I didn't experience clinical death. And he said, no, an NDE is someone who can be very close to dying. You were in a coma, which the medics confirmed that it was a coma, and they confirmed it was end stages. It qualifies as an NDE.
Wow.
You weren't
Wow.
supposed to come back. So then it went viral on the homepage, and I wasn't expecting that. And somebody brought it to the attention of Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Yeah. Good old Wayne
And
Dyer.
that's how it happened. Then Wayne Dyer had his publishers reach out to me and they invited me to write a book. They made the process very easy for me. And then Wayne Dyer wrote the foreword. And
Wow.
then they invited me to LA to come and speak in Pasadena. I was living in Asia at the time. And the weirdest thing is I'd never been on stage before. Wayne Dyer is on stage. They've flown me from Hong Kong, which is where I'm living, to LA and to attend an event in Pasadena where Wayne is speaking in front of 3,000 people. And he pulls me up on stage and I'm standing there looking at this audience. And I was like, whoa, this is what I saw in my near-death experience.
Wow.
Of
my
me
Wow.
speaking in front of thousands of people. And then Wayne was the
Amazing.
one that told
Yeah.
everybody to buy my
Sure.
book, Dying to Be Me, and it hit the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
the rest
So
is
did it
history.
feel like when you were up on that stage, did it feel like, oh yeah, this is familiar? Like you weren't nervous about it?
I was nervous because I'd never spoken in front of so many people, but it was familiar. I was like almost in tears, like, this is what I saw. Oh, it's happening. It was like, it's happening. Because one of the things I wanted to know at that time when I saw this scene was, what am I talking about? What do I have to do? What are the steps? And the answer I got was, you don't have to do anything. Just keep undoing, literally do nothing, just be, keep undoing, keep living from the place of love and watch it unfold. And literally, I understand now when I'm teaching other people is what you're doing is you're raising your vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still doing stuff, but it doesn't feel like you're working or running on a hamster wheel.
Sure. Sure.
I have a question that it's a little off of the track of what we're talking about, but do you feel now, having gone through that, do you feel like, you talked about intuition and feeling this, do you feel like you can communicate with your dad, with your best friend, these people who have passed? Do you feel that they're a little closer to you and you can kind of conjure that up in this life?
Yes. Yes. I was not close to my dad when he was alive because I feared him. But I'm close to him now. He's there all the time. And I'm going to say this, the people that hurt you most in physical life are the ones that help you the most when they've crossed over. Because
Wow.
they can see what they've done. And as part of their evolution, they really want to help you.
Wow.
And when you let them help you, they're also growing and evolving
Yeah.
themselves.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is so interesting. And I mean, and now you're in a position that very few are in, that knowing that your life will end at some point, we all die, and that there's no fear associated with it at all. It must come as somewhat of a comfort to you in some ways.
Yes. So I don't fear death, but I think life offers stuff that can feel uncomfortable, icky. So one of the things for me that are, I'm going to say my biggest fear, but it's more like the most uncomfortable thing for me is losing loved ones here. I know they're on the other side, even knowing that they're fine, even being able to communicate with them. There's still always a grieving process. And there's still a feeling of, oh, this life is less fun without them in it. There's that feeling. It's like what it does is it makes me look forward to the crossing over process more. It makes me less attached here. That hasn't happened yet, but I mean, I say that because I don't even like to think this, but I think that I'm very close to my husband, Danny, and I have a handful of people that I'm very close to. And I think that it would be very painful for me to lose any of them. And I don't fear death, but I can see that as I get older, if people around me start crossing over, I'm going to be like, I'm done. I'm going to join them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw,
Sorry.
Oh,
that's all right.
Yeah.
oh, bless. If I was there, I'd give you a hug right now.
Oh gosh.
If I was there with you.
It's just very, it's very fresh for me. It's 5
You love-
months.
Yeah,
5
she
months
lost her
since my
father.
dad.
Oh,
And this conversation is so important to me because I want to hear these things that you're describing, because I hope that that's what he feels, and I hope that he's out of pain. And I wonder, like, did he hear me when I was sitting on his bed, and did he know?
he did. He did all of that. So I will say that all of that applies across the board. What I was saying about different people have different trajectories, that is whether they choose to come back or stay on that side. But the fact that everybody reaches a point where they don't feel any more pain, that I would say is across the board. Across the board. Your dad is not in pain, and all the baggage and trauma and whatever he carried through his lifetime is gone. All of that is gone. None of that crosses over. And he is feeling light and free and pure, unconditional love for you. And if you want to talk to him, he can hear you. And he would want you to know that he could hear you when he was in his hospital bed and you were communicating to him. He would want you to know that he definitely could hear you.
Sorry.
And he's here for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, God, I try to get through one of these interviews without crying.
We don't do that very often.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
I'm sending you.
Thank
such
you.
a big
Thank
hug
you.
right
No, I mean,
now.
it's so comforting to hear
Yes.
that. But like you were just saying, it's like you're still not okay with the people that you love leaving this world. You know, it doesn't matter. I think, you know, you've experienced the other side and I haven't, but I still feel like that's a feeling that's universal, right?
Yes,
That you don't
yes.
want to,
No one wants to experience that,
No.
that loss. It's
No.
such a visceral loss,
Yeah.
you know, because this is, you know, in the end, that's what's the most important, is like being surrounded by the people that you love.
Yeah. And I think,
Yes.
you know, you said like, you know, your husband and you think about like, oh, well, when he goes, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to
Yeah.
be with him. And that is, I have to tell you, like, that is how I felt with my dad. I felt like, and I had said to her, like,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I knew that, you know, he was sick. He was very sick. And I knew that the end was coming, despite everything I did to try to make that not happen. But I remember feeling like, well, I don't know how to like be here without him. I don't want to. I don't want to. I just want to, you know, I want to be
Oh,
where he
wow.
is.
You're still so young, and you still have things to complete. So I'm sensing that your dad wants you to still be here for a little bit. I'm really sensing that he wants you to be, and it's painful for now, but it will get better. And then you'll start to understand why you're still here. And he will still continue to be guiding you. He's there. Just talk to him. Talk to him. I know it really sucks. That's just one of the things, you know, when people say to me, you've had this experience, so you probably don't grieve when people die. No. And I say, no, I'd be lying if I said that I'm not going to grieve when people very close to me go. My mom died 2 years ago, and that was very hard for me too. But it's gotten easier and easier. And I feel her all the time. Now, I was very close to my mom, but she started to lose her memory a few years before she died. So I started to get used to the idea that she's not really there. So it eased the process of her actually crossing over a little bit, but it's still not easy to lose somebody here in the physical, even if you know what it's like on the other side. It's comforting to know that they are fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's comforting to know that they're here and I have a communication with them. All of that helps. And you can do that. You can develop communication with your dad. You really can. And you can start to feel him. And you can do that. Like, try it at night before you go to bed, before you go to sleep. Just start talking to him. Ask him questions and see what comes to you.
Yeah. I've been journaling, and sort of in the journals, they're just basically letters to my dad, you know, and I write these letters to my dad. And recently, and most of it is kind of like you're saying, I'm putting it on paper, and I'm telling him things, and you know, maybe asking him questions here and there, but my therapist has said to me, you know, why don't you try flipping it and writing down what you think your dad would say to you. And
I love it.
Right? I just thought, oh, that's so interesting, because then it doesn't, I mean, look, it still hurts, but it's a little softer. Like, that feels a little softer to me versus me writing all of these things and pouring my heart out and feeling this terrible, just terrible feeling inside. To think about, okay, what would he tell me if he saw me like this right now? He would be like, what are you doing? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Live your life, live your life. And so it's interesting, but I will try that. Because I haven't really gotten to the point where I could feel his presence or hear. I think that I hear him, but I don't know if it's just me in my mind thinking, oh, he would say this versus the
But
voice.
wouldn't you feel like that's the same thing? Because I hear my dad passed a year and a half ago, and when I'm in situations when I guess I know how he would react, I do hear his voice saying it to me. And so I have to believe, because you have to believe it, that that's him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So here's the thing. A couple of things I want to say to what you said. One is, I love your therapist's idea is to write what you think he would say to you, or even think that in your head. Have him say those things rather than you asking him or you talking to him. Have him talk to you. I think that's wonderful, because that opens a door. So, it's important to believe, or to suspend your disbelief, your disbelief, and know that even if you're wrong and it is in your mind, what you are doing is an exercise in opening your spirit communication. If you disbelieve, whether you're right or wrong, but if you disbelieve, it is harder for them to communicate with you. But if you believe, you've just opened a door. So even if a couple of times you're wrong, or in the beginning you're wrong, it will keep happening, and you will get better and better and better, and you will start to be more and more right. But the minute you're like, oh, it's my mind, I'm going to disbelieve, you just shut that door and it's going to stop happening.
Yeah.
So it's better to believe and be wrong than to disbelieve and be right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I
That's
love
funny.
that.
Something we'd spoken to an intuitive a few weeks back, and she had said something, and I'm very eager to get these messages and to see these signs and all these things people talk about, that I'm like, why is this not happening to me? And this was early on. This might have been even like a month or two after my dad passed. And she said, no, he isn't anywhere yet. Like, he hasn't transitioned over. And when he does, she said, you sort of have to raise your vibration, or they have to lower theirs in order to make that communication happen. Have you heard that? Do you believe that to be true?
I do. So first of all, I know they try very hard to communicate with you, and you can make it easier for them by raising your vibration. And one way of raising it is by believing and knowing. So the more skeptical people are, the more they debunk this, the more they're like, I'm going to challenge it, I want proof, the harder it is, because that's a very low vibe.
Sure.
But the more you're on the vibe of course he's here, of course he's trying to communicate with me, you've already raised your vibe with that. So he will find it easier to communicate with you as you raise your vibe. When we first cross over, we are trying to figure our way around, but time does pass very quickly. So it's not long before they're able to send you signs and messages.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking for them for sure. I mean, I like I said, I definitely hear his voice, and my dad was very sarcastic and we tease each other all the time. And there are so many times when I'll be doing something and I laugh, because I'm like, oh my God, he's making fun of me right now. He's making fun of the fact that I'm doing this, or that I believe, like politically we had different views and things like that. And we would, Lori had mentioned before, we're just coming off this election season, and I hear, things that we would be saying to each other, even just if neither of us even believe them, we would just be saying it to, get to each other. But so there have been things this past week that I'm thinking, oh God, he's rolling his eyes at me right now. But
He probably is. He's probably rolling his eyes at you now, today. As we speak about
right
this.
now, right this minute.
He's probably here. Because
yeah.
the thing is, and the way they communicate with you is by dropping thoughts and ideas in your head.
Yeah.
And so you will mistake them for your own thoughts sometimes, but give it the benefit of the doubt.
Wow.
I like that. I like that. Oh my gosh. Anita, thank you so
my
much
God.
for being here.
Yes. I mean, and spending this time with us. And, you know, I was going to ask you if there's someone who is listening who is battling cancer and who was in a dire state like you were, is there advice that you would give them of how to maybe turn things around?
Yes. So one of the things I would say, so there's so many things, but
I'm
one of the
sure.
things I would say is that don't spend all your time obsessing about the illness and the trajectory of the illness and the treatment. Don't obsess about that. Instead, I want you to shift your focus to what are you going to do with the rest of your life when you get an all clear diagnosis. Focus on that. Focus on what you want to do with the rest of your life. Because from a lot of people, you're in this situation because you've been living your life a certain way that led up to this point. So think about your future life because you want to change it radically. You want to be doing something that brings you joy, that makes you feel loved. Create that life, even if it's in your mind, even if it's by journaling, if it's by writing, by drawing. Make that your primary focus. This is what I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. Focus on that and just go about your treatments like it's just routine and stop obsessing about results. The other thing I would say is that when it comes to having tests and results, pace them as much as you can. Do not have them frequently because those are so stressful. They're really stressful. And when you are working on yourself, it takes a little longer to see the results of your change of vibration, change of mind, change of energy. It takes a little longer to see that resulting in your body sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Give your body time. Don't keep stressing it with all those tests. Pace them. So those are a couple of things I would say.
Love
Well,
that.
we can't thank you enough for spending this time with us, for chatting with us, telling your story. I mean, we've enjoyed it.
So inspiring.
So
and
inspiring.
So
I
just
agree. And really
fascinating.
like a lot of food for thought of how to
Yeah.
live your life, how to
Yeah.
change and live your life. So thank you so much, Anita Moorjani.
Thank you both for having me on.
Thank you.
Really
And the book-
appreciate it.
Oh, and the
Jen
book
and
The
Lois.
book again.
is Dying to
Be me.
Be
Be
Me.
Me.
I don't have it
Dying
written in front of me. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I usually have like thoughts after we finish an episode, and we always end up and we talk about what we've just talked about.
You're speechless.
I'm a little speechless because what she says, anytime you talk to someone who has really changed their life in such a way, for whatever reason it is. I mean, she had a really huge reason.
Yeah.
You can't help thinking, how can I turn my life around? Even if you think you're happy and you're good or whatever. And I don't know, she gave a lot of food for thought. And I think when it comes, I know you were looking forward to this a lot because of that near-death experience.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, but I got so much more out of it than I was expecting to. And the questions that I had in my head and on my 10 pieces of paper.
I know.
To hear the way that she just lives her life differently now,
Yeah.
and anyone can do that. You don't have to go through what she went through.
No.
So, God, I'm
And
exhausted.
then how do you feel? I know, but like, how do you feel about things with your dad? Like, not to, I mean, we were just talking about that, and that was a big part of this conversation for you, was knowing that he's okay.
Yeah, knowing
Whatever
I
he
wanted
is
to know
now when it was happening.
Yeah, like that. I wanted to know that he could hear us and hear. I was just so curious. What did he see? I mean, he was at home. He wasn't in a hospital, and we were all there. My family, my cousins, and everyone had been coming in and out on that last day. And I just always thought, like, is he hearing this? Does he know? What is he seeing? What does it feel like? And she answered a lot of that for me,
did.
you know,
She
and
did.
it feels good.
I mean, you've walked around with those questions since he passed.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
it's nice to have some clarity for what that
right.
was
And just like
is.
I like what she said. Like even
Yeah.
if you suspend that disbelief,
Yeah,
which is that's
the hardest thing to do.
It's everything.
Because you question it, because you do think like, okay, am I crazy if I hear my dad being like, come on, it's like,
Yeah.
I know I was with my sister recently. I was with Danielle, and we were talking about how you called my dad and asked for his advice, and you would think that he's like this all-knowing, always had the answers. But his answer kind of would be like, I don't know. He's like, why are you asking me this? And we both burst out laughing like you're laughing. But that's what he would say. He's like, I don't know. What are you asking me? You figure it out. And that was like his thing. And you're like, you want to believe like that really is him saying it to me.
Right. Right.
And you have to believe that it is. But I think like you and I both have the same experience. Like, we believe in dreams and that they come in dreams.
Sure.
And that's been confirmed to us by a couple of people that we've talked to.
Yeah.
And I keep waiting for the dream.
The dream.
I keep waiting for the dream.
It's funny, like I don't know. I've definitely had dreams very recently. This is the funny part. Like I remember my dreams very vividly. 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And the dreams that I've had recently where my dad is in them for like these fleeting moments where there's something, I can't get them back when I wake up. I can't get them back.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating.
That kind of is him then.
I guess so.
I believe that is him. He's not ready to like, I mean, maybe he's just waiting for you to figure out how to live without him.
How to deal with this, yeah.
How to live without him. And he won't be back until he knows that you're confidently living your life the way it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never really thought about it
Yeah.
that way.
I mean, yeah. It's, again, like being that my dad was very cynical and sarcastic. And one of the things that I remember him saying at like, I don't know, one of the countless oncology appointments, I think it was the last round when the cancer came back and he decided he wasn't going to do treatment.
Yeah.
And, and the doctors are saying like, are you sure this is what you want to do? And blah, blah, blah. And we're talking through it. And I'm, the basket case. And he knew he didn't want to do treatment anymore.
Right. And you were like, why the fuck
Yeah.
not?
And I was like, this isn't what you do. You have cancer, you fight it, but like, who am I? I didn't have cancer. I didn't go through chemo and all this shit that he went through. But one of the things I remember, they're saying, that's great. Go home, live your life, enjoy the things that you enjoy and do all that. And he kept saying, yeah, that's what I want to do. And he said, in that way, with your kids and you can have these conversations so that there's no sense of guilt. And he said, well, she can have a little guilt. All right. If she has, and I just always think of that, like, I don't know. I think he wants me to feel a little bad.
A little bad.
Maybe not to this degree.
No.
But anyway,
I don't
but
think that
she was amazing. That was a great conversation.
Oh my God, what an inspiring conversation! And you should pick up her book. I mean, I did listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
But we hope you like this as much as we did. I'm Lori Schulweiss.
And I'm Jen Gielmo.
This was Everybody Talks.
Talk to you next time.
Take care.
For more information about our podcast, to learn more about us, or to catch up on all of our episodes, go to our website at everybodytalkspodcast.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Shirley, at Jen Giamo, and at Everybody Talks. And if you want to watch today's episode, go to our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, join the Everybody Talks community and become an exclusive member of our wellness group. Check out the link in our show notes to learn more.
Don't forget, if you like what you've heard, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell a friend. We're for everybody and everybody. The Everybody Talks podcast is co-created, executive produced, and hosted by us, Lori Schulweiss and Jen Giamo. Produced and edited by Station 16.
Our theme song music is written and performed by Jackie Ryle and Aaron Navisi, with additional support from our pups, Oliver, Milo, Murray, and Frankie.
Talk to you next time.